Welcome to a how-to guide of how to play Don't Tell Me the Odds. So what you'll need to get started. You'll need a deck of cards, a piece of paper or some way to keep track of points, and a 20-sided dice. What you'll want to do is take your deck of cards and remove all of the 6s, 7s, 8s, 9s, 10s, jacks, queens, and kings. You should be only left with ace, 2, 3, 4, and 5. After you've done that, you will want to throw a single 10 into this deck. So you will have 21 cards in total. So you can see that we have ace, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then a single 10. The goal of this game is to gain 100 points before the other player does. There are a few ways to go about getting points, but first we'll talk about how to play a round. This game is broken up into rounds. At the end of each round, you shuffle the deck of cards. So let's deal out a sample round. So we're going to draw 1, 2, 3 cards for ourselves, and then 3 cards for our opponent as well. Finally, we will flip the next card face up, so we have 5 as our starting card. Players will take turns going back and forth with who starts and alternating turns. So for this first round, I am going to go first. I was dealt a 4, a 3, and a 5. On my turn, I can do one of two things. I can choose to play a card to add to the total, or I can choose to go for it. Note that the player who starts the round cannot go for it on their first turn. So let's go over adding a card to the total. The total currently is 5. So I could add a 4, a 5, or a 3 to the total. I'll choose to add 4, and now the total is 9. The other player will now get a chance to go. The other player, if we flip their cards over, has a 3, a 3, and an ace. Aces are worth 1. The player can either choose to add more to the total or can choose to roll the dice. If they roll the dice, they must equal or exceed the total. The total is currently 9. So, if they choose to go for it, they must roll above a 9. But not before the other player adds a rider card. When the other player decides to go for it, the player who is not going for it adds a rider to the total. So if the total is 9 and player red decides to go for it, I would add a rider of 5, making the total 14. Now the player must roll 14 or higher to gain the points. So let's see what happens. The player must roll 14 or higher. If they do so, they gain 14 points. Otherwise, no matter what the total is, the player who is not going for it gains 10 points. So let's roll. And we can see that we rolled a 12. A 12 is not good enough, so the gray player would gain 10 points. At the end of this round, all cards are collected up and shuffled into the deck, and a new round is started. As a variant, if you do not want to shuffle each round, you may play 2 rounds before shuffling the deck. However, there are other ways to score points. So if we play a round out, with the gray player starting, we have a total of 4. This player will add to that and make the total 9. And this player will add 3 to that, making the total 12. Now, if the total is equal to 9 or higher when you choose to go for it, so before the rider is played, if you go for it on a number of 9 or higher, the points for you are doubled. So currently it's 12. So if I decide to go for it as the gray player, then the other player would play a card, so they'd play this 3, making the total go from 12 to 15. So if I roll above a 15 or higher, though, I don't just gain 15 points, I gain 30. So let's see. I rolled exactly a 15, which would mean I gain 30 points. However, if I had not rolled a 15 above a 15, the other player would still receive 10 points. So, what happens though if you get to a number that is too high to reasonably roll against? That's okay. This is one of another way to score additional points. So, if we start with 5 and they play it to 9, we play it to 11, they play it to 14, we go to 16, they go to 19. Well, I'm not going to roll against a 19. That's unreasonable. I can also gain points by making the total 20 or higher of the total. So it's currently 19. When I make it 20, I would gain 5 points if I make it 20 or higher. However, if you make it exactly 20, you give your opponent a chance to steal. So back to this case, if we have 20, the other player may attempt to steal. If they successfully steal, they gain all of our points. However, if they don't steal, then we gain 10 instead of 5 points for landing exactly on 20. So, they have to roll exactly a 20 on the dice. And they did. So on a roll of a 20, they would steal our 93 points and add it to their total. In this case, that would bring it to 170 points, which would make them automatically win the game. And that's it. If you have any other questions about the rules, please feel free to leave a comment, and I can clarify anything. Rules will be posted in the description as well. And thank you so much for watching.